Today's video is about the biased and unfair nature of Lilith in terms of your grinding and your spending. What rewards you get out of that from Lilith is not necessarily equal to what Lilith would reward to some other kingdoms for the same amount of grinding and same amount of spending. The reason why we're doing this video is so that you're aware that you are being cheated by Lilith in few different ways, and nowadays it has come to a stage where Lilith doesn't even care whether you are aware or not. This is where I think it's important for all of us to be aware and make noises just so that Lilith gets to know that yes, we do understand what you're doing, and yes, we do care, and it's time for you to change. Now, there's going to be a few different disclaimers that I have to do just because of the nature of the video before we get started with the topic. The first one I have to say is, if I ask you, do you love your country? You're probably going to say yes. Most of you guys definitely are going to say yes, right? But then if I ask you, do you like the politicians that's running your country? A lot of you guys, most likely a lot of you guys are going to say that, nah, they're corrupt and, they do things that doesn't make sense. And the country could be run a lot better. And I think the situation that I'm about to talk about with Lilith and RoK is kind of similar. I definitely love the game. I love RoK, but then at the same time, I can't agree. I was going to say I can't understand Lilith's decision making. A part of me thinks that I do understand the decision making. I just don't agree with it. And when I go through the explanation, a lot of you may not agree with it either. So, no, I'm not quitting RoK. No, I don't hate RoK. It's just that I just can't take Lilith anymore, as in the decision maker, not the people making the game, the decision maker, the strategic decision makers that are driving the game forward in a weird sort of way, a very biased and unfair sort of unplayable sort of way. The second disclaimer that I need to talk about is to do with 1254. Yes, I'm going to mention 1254 in this video, but then just for the disclaimer, I got nothing against 1254. I have a lot of friends in 1254. I am a big fan of Chizgul. I am a big fan of Redline. I'm often on their streams, and I do talk publicly on their streams as well, and never has been, I guess, disrespectful in any way to them. And I'm not actually trying to do that here either. The only reason I am saying all of this is when I talk about 1254, I'm not going to accuse 1254 or anything. Is just that what Lilith is doing, it kind of feels like it is a little bit biased. So again, it's just about Lilith, not necessarily about 1254. A lot of my friends from 1556, a whole alliance went to 1254. So I have more friends in 1254 than I guess I could count. The third sort of disclaimer, not necessarily a disclaimer, a reference point I need to bring to start off the conversation is going to be around a story that took place involving Legend Rodney years ago. So Legend Rodney, the YouTuber, probably one of the first and most successful YouTubers in terms of Rise of Kingdoms in its early days. I think back then we had Legend Rodney. Dragothian wasn't as big. We obviously had Chizgul back then as well, and then we had Trinchi. Around that time, Legend Ronnie lost his sponsorship, and the story that we got to know about Legend Ronnie's situation was apparently during war, whatever KvK he was going through. Actually, it wasn't even KvK. This is pre-KvK days. So within the kingdom, he was fighting a war, and then he asked Lilith to give him more speed ups or resources or something along those lines. And him being a sponsored content creator, he was getting access to, I guess, in-game stuff that he wasn't supposed to get access to, at least not. It wasn't supposed to be public knowledge, I guess, but somehow it came out. And then what Lilith did is they took away Legend Ronnie's sponsorship. Now, not necessarily I'm trying to judge Legend Ronnie or anything. I mean, I don't know what the deal was with that sponsorship, but end of the day, in a way, back then, at least Lilith was trying to say, well, no, we're not giving anyone in-game advantage. As much as there are sponsors, content creators who are making content for the game, and they will be getting paid separately, but no in-game advantage or anything as such. That's the understanding that, or the reference point that we got from Lilith. But then now how it's changing is to do with the new new system that we are getting in the near future. Well, some KDs actually got it already, but rest of us second-class citizens, we are probably going to get it next week. That's what Lilith says, but that's subject to whether all the planned deployment kind of goes through. So I'm talking about the formation, armaments, and inscription system. By the way, in the background, that's what I'm kind of taking you through, like a document that I saw on the 1365 Discord, and then I saw it on the 2489 Discord as well. So I'm kind of guessing this is public, so not necessarily anyone's property, because I saw it on two different Discords. And then at the same time, I think three names I need to mention for this is Azen from 1365, and then Asbodian, and then Jade from 2224. I think these are the three people that had contribution in terms of making these documents, in terms of the screenshots and so on. I'll have a link to this on my Discord as well, and the link to my Discord is actually going to be in the description. So if you want to find out about this guide that I'm displaying in the background of this video in terms of how to go about your armaments and inscriptions and questions answered and all that, state forum, how much you need to upgrade and what you get and all that, so you can have access to it. A part of me wishes that I could make a video about it, not necessarily just go by a written guide. But then again, that's the thing, right? Like, unless I'm playing in certain kingdoms, I don't have access to it. And then again, not trying to say that those certain kingdoms did something dodgy. It's to do with how Lilith is being dodgy. So what Lilith decided to do with this update, which is meant to be game changing and all that, Lilith decided initially, well, we're gonna introduce this in KvK 2 Kingdoms, and then they did. And then in KvK 2 Kingdoms, apparently some of the stats of these inscriptions were quite high, and Lilith decided to nerf it. But the people in those KvK 2 Kingdoms that has it, they're gonna retain the high stats forever. This is what I heard. Now, the next thing we were waiting for is, well, Lilith kind of said they're going to start from newer kingdoms, but then what they did is, rather than newer to older or older to newer, which is what they usually did, like either one of these two, Lilith decided to give access to the new system to certain kingdoms. And thank God, actually, I'm going to say thank God it was 1254. And the reason why I'm saying thank God is because Shizgul is there, and then at least we got to see about it. But then not to other kingdoms. Now, how that in a way is unfair is, well, certain kingdoms are getting an advantage. And then if that method of choosing certain kingdoms was clear, then we probably wouldn't be complaining as much, as in, okay, well, you started from the older, you started from the newer, or potentially you gave access to all the kingdoms that were off season, or you gave access to all the kingdoms that signed up for a special KvK. That's where they got early access or something. So at least the sense of fairness, which is not the case. Lilith apparently randomly chose certain kingdoms to have access, and the only kingdom that I know of that has access is 1254. I'm sure there are one or two other kingdoms that probably has access to as well, but then I just don't know which those kingdoms are. But then we do know that it's 1254, and this is where my earlier disclaimer kind of comes in. I'm sure this is nothing to do with 1254 asking for it, or they thinking they deserve it more than anyone else. So they're a great kingdom. They don't need any unfair advantage to win, I'm sure. But then this is to do with how Lilith is being, either they're being really silly or they just don't care. And there are some comments that I read about how it was to do with, so that Chizgul being the biggest streamer of Rise of Kingdoms, maybe he should have access first, so that he can hype it up, which I completely understand. If they gave Chizgul access on a separate server, or even all the content creators, or even the sponsored content creators, some sort of access to a better server or something where it's not tied to in-game, where they can create content, guide us about it, but then it doesn't kind of translate into in-game situation, then obviously that would have been a lot more understandable. But then it's not just the 1 week early access. What's happening over here is the situation with More Than Gems. So More Than Gems came, and to get one of these buildings, you actually need 200k gems. So the new building that comes in, you need to spend 200k gems to max that building. And then if a kingdom gets access to that feature, during more than gems, then technically, just because they're upgrading their building, they're getting 26 gold heads for free. So you and I, again, second class citizens in terms of Lilith eyes, when we get access to it, which is going to be probably next week, there's not going to be a more than gems. So the 1,000 or so people playing in 1254 and other KDs, again, I'm highlighting this is not about 1254 only. There are other KDs that got probably access as well. So the other KDs that get access, what they get is extra 26 gold heads. Now, I didn't count the speed ups and other things that you get out of more than gems, but then that's a decent amount of advantage. I don't think that's enough to help a KD win a KvK or anything like that. But then, end of the day, if I am not a mega whale like say Fo or Baba or Jizgul or whoever, I don't have lying around 100,000 gems, 200,000 gems or so on. I look forward to the more than gems so that I can get things that I actually need. And the state forum being a building that needs 200k gems, and apparently you can get away with 30k as well, and that's where this guide kind of comes in handy. So part of this guide actually talks about how what's the minimum level you need to get or anything. So if you think about the 30k situation, so 30k, if you're a low spender or if you're a free to play player, you're spending 30k gems to level up a building. Now, when you get access to it next week, you're just going to get the building. You don't get anything extra. But if you're one of the 1,000 people that plays in 1254, I'm randomly saying 1,000. It's a big kingdom. I'm pretty sure there's about 1,000 people. I don't know whether all of them are going to spend on more than gems or not. But then, yeah, I think there's, excluding farms, there should be close to like 1,000 people. But anyways, a lot of people get access to extra rewards, which is at least 26 gold heads, maybe more, for having access to it during more than gems. And I reached out to Lilith VIP support and a few other people that I know did as well, saying, well, if you're giving us to next week, it's already unfair. You're giving us 1 week less. So we should get more than gems as well, because otherwise I'm getting less value. Lilith's response to this was, well, this is just a coincidence. We're not trying to favor anyone. It's just a coincidence, but you kind of have to live with it. We take your feedback on board, but you got to live with it. So Lilith said directly, you can buy other stuff now during this More Than Gems event, and during the next More Than Gems event, you up the building. And there's going to be a lots of bundles available as well. You can buy all those bundles, and that's how you're going to have enough gems even if you spend your gems now. So in a way, yes, I'm talking to VIP support. So technically, you can only be a VIP if you spend. So I don't think it's a crime they're talking about spending. But then, like end of the day, what Lilith is doing is Lilith is saying, well, we got a new update. It's going to be game changing. And you're looking at spending somewhere between $600 to $1,000 if you take into account what you necessarily need to get the gems and the extra bundles that are going to be available, somewhere between say $500 to $1,000 depending on how much your dollar is valued. That's a lot of money. Lilith is saying we want you to spend all that money, but we do have to give some advantage to some random people that we favor in some random KDs. And then I don't think I should say even the word random, because it's not random. Lilith chose certain kingdoms to give this special more than gem situation, which is what they're not giving to us when we have access to it. So for spending the same dollar value, someone in 1254 is going to get 26 gold heads plus extra rewards that I'm not going to get. And you are going to be part of that group as well, I guess, because most of the KDs doesn't have access to it now. Most of the KDs are going to have access to that later on. And how is that fair? And the moment you're asking us to spend real money in a game, you do expect a certain level of fairness, which is what I don't think we're getting here. Now, spending aside, if you're talking about grinding, like grinding 30k gems is not that easy. You have to, I guess, gem farm a lot if you're a free to play to get to that point, or chain barbs or whatever. And when you get to that level, how would you feel when you know there are certain other KDs or certain other players in other KDs will get an advantage over you? They get more for doing the same thing. And the reason why it's embarrassing from a Lilith point of view, again, it's not to do with 1254. I'm sure 1254 didn't ask for it. It's to do with how Lilith decided to go with few specific KDs without explaining why they're choosing what they're doing, and just thinks that we are going to be all okay with it. Like, 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 do you do you see what I'm trying to say? Like, it's not just the decision making; it's the fact that they don't even care that this is not fair, and they just wanna put it under the rug, saying this is a coincidence. you, Lilith couldn't think that this is an issue, how there's an extra impact on in terms of rewards and all that. And do they not think then we should probably get the same sort of reward somehow, like offer more than gem next time? How hard is it when you're planning for the thing to go live, as in the new formation armament system to go live? Could you not hold off on the more than gems? Or could you not plan that more than gems would go live when in whichever kingdom the new system is going live, so that it's kind of fair, at least on the surface? Now, once upon a time, Lilith used to care to come up with, like, fake stupid stories, such as when they nerfed the healing help thing. Apparently, some kingdoms use bots to get helps, so that was their excuse. But later on, the coalition system came when getting helps is not an issue. You can legally get helps, but then they didn't take that away, and they never gave us an explanation. This is the new trend with Lilith. This is what I'm trying to get to. Lilith doesn't care anymore, even in terms of putting a facade or a mask of, yes, we are kind of trying to be fair. Not even that. Well, we are kind of unfair, and that's how it is. Live with it. If you still want to play the game, play the game. If you don't want to play the game, don't play the game. We got, our favored special people that, we are going to give advantage to and take random decisions, whether that helps the greater community or not. That's just how it is. You just got to live with it. So that's the situation that I wanted to refer to. Now, unfortunately, or I guess in Lilith's case, fortunately, there's no other game out there that kind of offers what Lilith offers, or what Rise of Kingdoms offers, as in free open field movement. There's a lot of games like Rise of Kingdoms out there. None of them are as well made as Rise of Kingdoms. Now, that's what Lilith has been selling from day one. This is why we still stick to Rise of Kingdoms, despite the disgraceful decisions that I guess Lilith takes. But then, how long is Lilith going to pull on that string? How far away is maybe this other game that's going to come around the corner, who will offer open field fighting at the moment? Open field fighting, just like how Rise of Kingdom does. So, and then how much are we going to take? Like, now, I was planning to max the building with 200k gems, despite having only 8k gems, which means I had to spend, like, again, $500 to $1,000, and I was willing to do that. But then when Lilith is blatantly telling me, yes, we want you to do it, but we're not going to give you the same rewards that we gave to your friends in 1254. And I'm saying friends, says is my friend, Redline is my friend. So I'm not talking about this random other people that I hate or anything. And I'm sure Sazen or Chizgul or any one of those players, they didn't ask for it. This is Lilith's decision making, whether it be for marketing purposes, for whatever purposes, God knows, but no explanation. You just get less. And that's what I thought we try to clarify to you guys, in terms of how you should be aware of this. And then you should make a noise about it, so that at least there is a sense of fairness to some extent. So that's all we had for today. Now, the guide that you're looking again in the background, thanks to Asbodian, thanks to Jade from 2224, and thanks to Aizen from 1365, we have the guide available in the background. Now, we are going to do a stream when we have access to the system, armament systems eventually, where we will probably go through the details of the guide. But for now, if you want to have a read of the guide, obviously you have access to it on our Discord. And then I guess, Lilith preferred people who has access to it. They probably made guides about it as well. So by the time we get to try it or make a guide about it, it's outdated already. But, that's life. That's life under Lilith. Anyways, I will see you in the next one, and bye for now.